Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about what do you do when you have an emergency on the road and that emergency is you. Hey, so today guys, this is the first time I've been able to talk without pain in 3 days. So I thought, this might be a good video because I was not prepared for this. Nobody prepared me for this. I didn't even think about it until it happened, and I thought, well, let me do a video on this because this is a good thing if you're new, whether you're new in the business or you just haven't experienced this in trucking yet. Understand when it happens, you have got to be patient. You got to be very patient. I was fortunate that the emergency was something that I could control, and it wasn't something that had to be taken care of this second. If it were, then I would have to take care of it that second and deal with it. But what happened was I had a root canal years ago, and they put a crown on top of it because the tooth's dead. And years have gone by, and it was no big deal. Apparently, maybe I've been under a lot of stress lately because I've noticed I have been grinding my teeth a lot more in the last, I'd say 12 months. There's lots of stuff going on in the world, in my business, in my life, in trucking. Sometimes you don't really realize how it affects your body. You think you're coping with it, but your body learns to cope with it in other ways, trying to figure out where the best place for this is. Anyway, so I thought, well, I knew I shouldn't be grinding my teeth, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be an issue, and I didn't think anything was going to happen about it, so I didn't worry about it. I was in Pennsylvania picking up a load, and I had 2 stops to 2 different Costco's in the Baltimore, Maryland area. I wasn't really excited about that to begin with, but maybe that's what started the stress. The straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know, but so I noticed. I thought when I flossed, I thought I had lifted up or irritated my crown because it was difficult to get out. So I didn't realize it was because I had fractured the tooth, the actual, the remaining of the tooth by biting down too hard on the crown, which apparently pressed against the dead tooth. I don't know what you call a root canal, but it's like a dead tooth. And I didn't understand why there was so much pressure built up. All I could think of is I just want my cap off. I want that crown. A crown is basically just in our day, I'm almost 60 years old. We just used to call them caps, but now they call them crowns. It just looks like a shell of a tooth that sits on top of I don't know, I guess a dead tooth. And so it looks pretty, but it's basically just functions as a covering of your tooth. So I apparently fractured it, and it was a building kind of a pressure pain, and then it would go away, and then it finally, I picked up the load, and I realized it's kind of hurting. So I called my dentist. I called my dentist, and I said, hey, today's the 19th. No, I called them it was Wednesday the 18th. Wednesday the 18th, I called them and I said, I'm not going to be home until the Tuesday, probably the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Then, my dentist was like, oh, well, we're closed during the holiday. I'm like, yeah, but see, I have an emergency. This is kind of like, I need to know that you're there for me because you're my dentist. Okay, well, I'll be in the office Monday, but we're closed Mondays, so as soon as I'll be able to see you is December 1. I'm like, December 1? That's like almost 2 weeks. And I said, well, I'll see how long I can go along with this pain. But yeah, put me down for December 1. Well, that was Wednesday the 18th. Thursday, I picked up the load and it started irritating me. And then I shut down early. I still was going to be able to get there Friday early in the morning. It was a stop at 4 a.m. and then go about 10-15 miles and a stop at 6 a.m. So I got through both of those and I'm like, oh man, this is really starting to hurt. I don't think this is, I'm gonna have to try to. So I was at a Costco, so I thought for sure I could find a dentist in the Costco. You know, I'm in town. When you're at a Costco delivery store, you know, I'm not at a DC, I'm at the store. So I pulled up on my phone, you know, I finished my load, I pulled over to the side, I thought, I could probably just park my truck here and I'll just Uber somewhere. So I pull up, I found a dentist, I went on to Google Maps, found dentists near me, found several near me. Now this is Friday morning, every one of them that I found was closed. And their normal operating hours, now this is about 6:30 a.m. now. Even when their office hours was usually 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. So even if I found one locally right there, I'd have had to sit there for 2 hours, and which I didn't mind. It's just I knew I was under a trip plan to go to another load, and so I kind of wanted to make some headway. So I thought, well, rather than sit here for 2 hours and wait for a dentist office to open, which I really couldn't find one too nearby in Baltimore. And then I didn't want to be stuck in that traffic and all. And I thought, you know what, let me go ahead and start heading south to my next appointment. So I stopped off and I figured out Ashland. And on my way down, I emailed my, because I was having a hard time just opening my mouth. I just didn't want to move my mouth. It just hurt, because if I raised it up, it wasn't the air that gets to it, it's any type of pressure I put on it. It was just like taking a nail and hitting it right down the center of my tooth. So it was obviously a problem. So I ended up going to Ashland, Virginia, because there's a TA there I like to go to. It's got a lot of parking, and so around noon I got there, and that's just Friday. And at this point, I didn't care whether they took my dental insurance or not. I needed to see a dentist and get this resolved, because I knew that this pain was not going to go away now. So I quit worrying about my dental insurance, and I just called the closest one. They weren't taking new patients. They were not open. And then I found one about a mile away, and he said, or the receptionist, which was also the dental assistant, answered and said, yeah, we can take you. How soon can you get here? I'm like, wow, how soon can I get there? They're hurting for business, but I'm hurting, so that's perfect. So I go out there, they have me fill out some paperwork. They have me give them my insurance card, and they start looking into that, and then they get me back there. He has to do an x-ray, which I understood, and he shows it. He says, yeah, he says, you know, you fractured the tooth, your only option is for it to come out. And I'm like, oh man, I'm out here, I don't know this doctor. I'm in Ashland, Virginia, which is a town I'm not familiar with. It was only a mile away from the truck stop, and the Uber I took there had to drop me off because there was construction. There was no way to get to that building, because the entire street that building was on was under construction. It's no wonder they didn't have any clients. So, you know, I got out of the Uber, I walked there, and I walked in and sat down in the chair eventually, and he's like, yeah, so I need you to sign this, this, and this, and $800 is what your cost will be, and we'll have you out. And I said, well, how long will it take? He says, about 30 minutes. I'm like, well, that's not very long. I think I was only in there and out of there in about 30 minutes. it felt like I mean, how quick it went. And when he started putting the shots in my mouth, he was aggressive about it. But, you know, I don't know. I guess you can't be ginger about putting a needle in somebody's jawbone. So, and then the guy was, him and the dental assistant were, I mean, this guy was a big guy for an Indian doctor. He was a big Indian doctor, and he was a nice guy. And he, I mean, you could tell it was a tough pull. I don't know why it would be tough to pull, because the tooth was dead. So I didn't think it had any roots to hold on to. So I don't know. But I felt, all of a sudden I felt a big pressure, almost release. I couldn't feel anything, thankfully. I felt a lot of fluid. So I think that was the blood probably coming out. And then he didn't sew anything up. That was what was kind of weird, is I was worried about this gaping hole, and he said that, I don't remember the term he used, but basically he was going to put something, some sort of a bone marrow or something back in there to help so it levels off at the bone, at where the gum line is. Well, and he sends me off with some, I mean, I'm still, my mouth is still numb. I practically walked there. It was only a mile away, but I had to walk through the construction. Then I got drugged up, got pulled tooth, got packed with a bunch of gauze, and then he says, okay, well, thanks. Gave me instructions on what not to do. Gave me some prescriptions. He said, just go down the street. He says, did you drive? I'm like, no, I Ubered. He goes, okay, well, you're fine. You can just go down here, and it's just a couple blocks, and then you can get your medicine at the Walgreens. So I was like, okay, great. I'll get the medicine at Walgreens. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm in shock that like all this is happening. So I ended up walking about a half a mile down the street, wandering down the street, which is fine. It was a nice day. A nice day for walking with a hole in your head. And I go to the Walgreens, and I get my medicine. I pick up a couple other things, and I get an Uber to go back to the truck. They gave me, I don't know, what a Percocet, like Oxycontin, Percocet, whatever it's called. And I know that's like a very dangerous drug. You can't take that while you're driving. So I put that aside. And then they gave me basically a penicillin or antibiotic, and a 800 milligram pill of ibuprofen. So those two I knew I could take. So I text my dispatcher. I said, okay, well, I was able to stop, get my dental situation covered, came back out of it. I'm only an hour and a half into my 10-hour break, so I'll be able to run after 10 hours. So he calls me, and I'm like, uh-oh. Oh, I know why he called me. Because I told him they gave me Percocet, amoxicillin or something like that, and then ibuprofen, and then he called me, and he's like, you can't take Percocet as a truck driver. I don't think you can. And so then he forced me to have to talk, and I was like, I had all this gauze on my mouth. I said, no, I understand. I got it just in case, but I know I can't take it. I was mumbling. So he goes, all right. He says, well, tell you what, why don't you just plan on sleeping in? I'll push the load off and you pick it up at 9 a.m. so that we can leave at 6. Whereas I was going to leave, that gave me like an extra 6 hours of sleep. So I thought, well, that's cool, because I don't have any idea what's going to happen when I wake up. And I woke up I didn't sleep that well. I actually ended up taking one of the Percocets, and it didn't help right away, but obviously it helped because I was able to go to sleep. And then I woke up about 3 hours later, and it was hurting really bad again. So I was like, I took an ibuprofen, and I took another Percocet. I was like, I hope I'm not overdoing it, but man, this thing hurts. And so that I slept through. I got enough sleep in. So then I got up, and I was feeling better. I kept the pads in my mouth just because my daughter had gone through this, I think it's called dry socket, where it clots, but then whether you use a straw or you're smoking cigarettes, or the sucking sensation will make the clot come out, and that's supposed to be very painful. And I remember my daughter went through it, and I didn't want to go through it based on what I remember my daughter going through. So I haven't even smoked a cigar in 2 days because it's feeling a lot better now. And I figured once it stops hurting to the touch, then I'll know it's healed enough, then I can have a cigar. But I'm just not going to do it. So anyway, long story short, I just wanted you guys to know. So here's the deal. I had to go find a place, because it's not like at home. If I was at home working in a cubicle or an office, I would say, oh, my tooth hurts. I'm going to call out sick. I'm going to go call my doctor, and I'm going to drive and go see him. But that wasn't the case. I had a load under me. I had to finish. And if I couldn't finish it, I'd have to still at least coordinate with dispatch to get somebody to repower the load while I'm still dealing with this pain. So the responsibilities are way more complicated out on the road. And I never realized it. You know, you just can't say, well, this is somebody else's problem. You know, I got to take care of myself. Yeah, if it's that serious, you're right. You know, you're right. But if it's not, then be responsible, for God's sakes. There's no reason to overreact. But, you know, it was something. So I guess probably the thing to know is, you know, fortunately I had the money on me. I didn't even put it on a credit card. I just paid on my regular debit card the $800. Normally when I pay somebody I don't know, I'll pay them with a credit card so I can have a fraudulent transaction reversal if I needed to. But, you know, I started paying it on my Amex, and he said, oh, we don't take Amex. And I'm like, Jesus. So I just pulled out my debit card, and I thought, well, I really didn't want to do it. So then he said he was going to email me the x-rays. So I don't know, maybe by the time I upload this, I'll have those and I can post it. But I also wanted him to email me the 3 documents I signed, and I took a picture of it. I'll show you the picture of the hole in the back of my mouth. But it's, I kind of wish he would have videoed it. All these things you think about afterwards. I wish I would have given him permission to video it, because it would have been interesting for me to see. But I wish I had a picture of the tooth that he pulled out and all, but I don't know. I don't. So it's just a really strange experience to be in a foreign place that I'm not familiar with, and to go through all of this. And at the end of the day, you got to do it. You got to take care of it. And thankfully, I'm allowed to talk. I feel like, you know, I've had applesauce. When I was at the Walgreens, I picked up some of those little cups of applesauce, because most of the food I have in here is either soup, and they don't want you drinking soup, because that's like any sucking sensation is going to create the clot to want to come out. So I'm like, all right, no cigars, and no hard food in the mouth so that you can't get it irritated. So I was like, well, I guess I can slurp on some applesauce. That's all I've had for 2 days. And I finally got some cereal and just let it get soaked in. And I'm eating over on this side of and then I have these packs, these little packages of salt from the truck stops, which is, let me tell you, you want to keep those. You want to have some of those. If you don't have a microwave, you're going to need a way to get some hot water, because that was what I was doing to. One thing my dentist did tell me was to keep the pain down, you can take ibuprofen, and you can take up to 800 milligrams at a time, which is why they give you those 800 milligram pills at the pharmacist. But I just took 4 of the ibuprofens, 200 milligrams each. I took 4 of those, and that actually seemed to help a lot. But some warm water and the salt and then just kind of rinse it around. That was soothing. That was helpful. So that's what my dentist told me that I could do to help minimize to mitigate the pain. So what an experience. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope it helps. I hope you guys don't ever have to go through it, but if you do, step 1, secure the load. Step 2, pray wherever you stop. You can Uber not too far by to a dentist. Step 3, try not to pay on your debit card. and hope that you don't have to get your tooth pulled. But step 4, that's life. Deal with it.
Hey, quick shout out to my dispatch, Nick. He was a champ during all this because I didn't want to be complaining, but it was serious enough. I needed to take care of it with a few words that I needed to speak, and he jumped right on it, and he bought me some extra time to get this done. It was not a problem. He was very reassuring that this was important to him as it was to me. And when you're looking to work for a company, you gotta have a good relationship with your dispatcher. If you don't have a good relationship now, you gotta make a good relationship with them, or you're either gonna have to find another company or another dispatcher. But your dispatcher is your 50-50 partner to you having a successful and happy career with wherever you are. And any of the seasoned veterans out there, tap down in the comments and tell me if I ain't right. All right, just wanted to add that.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So you guys take care. Good luck. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll be right back.